Hello, welcome back to the Unstructured Aftershow of The Last of Us Episode 2. It's your host, Lion, and joined with my co-host, Mr. E.
What up?
How's everything going? How you doing?
Yeah, how's everybody doing? I'm doing good, man.
Yo, we just saw the episode. It's interesting, some changes, some things we want to talk about, but let's start by recapping some of the stuff that happened this week in regards to the show. And what I'm referring to is the reception the show had.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about last week.
Yeah.
I personally felt very attached to the show because I played the game years back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering how people were going to receive this. You know, people that haven't played the game, that are not connected to the story. And man, oh man, this is the second largest premiere of HBO.
Yeah, this is huge. People are calling HBO the GOAT. And Andrew Schultz was saying that, and I can't disagree with him on that. Absolutely, they have another banger. I mean, let's call it what it should be, blockbuster. This is going to be a big deal going forward.
No, certainly. So this is the second largest premiere right after in the last 10 years, behind House of the Dragon. In Latin America, is the biggest premiere they had ever. So this show is doing big numbers. I think the first episode had 4.7 million viewers on the first day. By the second day, that was up to 10 million viewers. I haven't checked the latest numbers, but they definitely are killing it out there. What's going on, Room? First in, what's going on, my brother?
I got a story for you, man. I got a story for you. Should I get into it now or later?
Get it in.
I watched Severance, and here's what I'll say about Severance, Rune. Have you ever smoked a turkey or anything like that before, or smoked any type of meat? Pause. It's like it takes forever, but at the end, if you do it right, it's worth it. And granted, I've only seen turkeys and stuff being smoked. I've never done it myself. So, but I was sitting there through like 8 episodes, like, I might need a refund on my time. And then on the 9th episode, the last episode, it all came together perfectly, and it was amazing. Shout out to you, Rune. Good advice on taking a look at it. I did. Cheers to you.
No, Severance is actually pretty good because having like a separate self that just goes to, or yourself, you go to work, you forget that you work. It's an interesting idea. We should probably discuss it one of these days and do a watcher pass.
Absolutely, it's a crazy concept.
He says he loves smoking meats. No homo. Thank you for the reminder. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to bring up. So one of the showrunners, Miguel Massing, I think his name is. I'm probably butchering that. So he was talking about in the official podcast of the show that they are leaving in the first episode a breadcrumb that may pay off later on.
Yeah.
So we see here thinking. I see some theories online that this may be referring to how the whole epidemic with the fungi started.
Yep. And
it may be related to baked goods. We're talking about cakes. We're talking about pancakes, talking about cookies. You remember episode 1, we had Sarah complain that they didn't have any pancake mix, I think it was, in the pantry. Then we have Joe was supposed to pick up a cake that he forgot to pick up. And then we have Sarah going to the neighbor's house and she's offered some cookies. She has the chocolate chips that says raisin, and she kind of forgoes that. Those are nasty. I don't want those. So this could be the reason why this thing's spreading so much and so fast. Everybody loves baked goods. Everybody loves cookies, cakes, pancakes, you name it. And maybe that's the theory running right now. Some people say maybe due to the yeast, or they may are saying maybe due to the flour. Let's see if any of us is right about this. What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I think you're dead on. I think they have a double whammy where they're saying that it's a breadcrumb and it has to do with some type of yeast or some type of bread, whatnot. Why not cause more problems? This is definitely going to be an issue later. I'm curious to see how it comes about.
No, that's what's up. No, and on top of that, we have people that are not necessarily attached to the game are really running with this. I see on Twitter everybody's talking about the show. The sales of the games are 238% year over year. This is a game that came out in
It's
2013.
just the way they play. This is
So
brilliant.
they're smart. They're gonna print money with this series, and everyone, people that I know personally that are not gamers, are talking about this show. Look at my Facebook. Everyone's discussing that they're looking to watch the show. Like it feels like big time. Feels Game of Thrones like.
Yeah.
So this is very good for the show. So I am hoping that this keeps going, and the show looks great because I would love to see.
I think there's a lot of big
what's
things
coming.
ahead. A lot of big things ahead. Real quick, Rune, how is our volume? I'm curious. But I think there's a lot of big things ahead for sure. For sure, with this show, this particular episode was a slow. I guess there was a lot of character development until the end, like you were talking about, until 36
Yeah,
minutes.
so this episode was a slow start. So episode 2 starts kind of giving us an outlook on the state of the world right now. So we see that the world is completely abandoned, destroyed, run down by plants. See, vegetation is taking over all the old buildings, and then we start getting bits and pieces of what's to come. We see outside of the bank, I think, of the hotel, the roots of the fungi,
Yes.
which is a change from the game where they are in the game the infection or the fungi is spread through spores. Since that was a little tough to do in the show, they're using tendrils and roots, and we see how that pays off in this episode. This episode was also directed by Neil Druckmann, who's the director of the video game, and this is his debut as a director of a TV show series. Let's see how this translates from being in a video game director to being a TV show director. And it looks like he just wanted to build up that anticipation. I already knew what was coming. You someone knew what was coming. At the 36-minute mark, when you finally see the clickers, the zombies in this world, how do you feel about it?
Since I saw them before, because I watched ahead, I thought it was very authentic. I thought this was a moment. I was really into the moment. It was really intense. And I want to touch on something else that you were saying about the spores and the tentacles.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good move. Let us know what you think, because after going through a pandemic for 2 years, we've seen how quickly airborne viruses can spread, and it would have, I think, detracted from the viability of this show.
Okay.
If they had kept it as airborne, because everybody would have gotten it. Like everybody.
And not just that, like
Yeah.
it's cool that that mechanic was really well as a gameplay mechanic. But if you had the actors on gas masks the whole game, the whole show, I think it would have
They would
hurt the
strike.
quality of it and the dialogue,
Yeah.
seeing the facial expressions. From the beginning of the episode, we're seeing the relationship being built between Joel and Ellie.
Yes.
We see that there was a scene that Joel kind of very casually glanced at his watch, and that had to do. Let me see here. I think I have that scene here queued up. That had to do with the watch that Sarah fixed for him.
Mhm.
And this is the same watch he was wearing when he was carrying her in episode 1 when she's shot. This is the watch that gets a crack. This
Yeah.
is the same watch that in episode 1, Ellie kind of makes phone and says, "Hey, your watch is broken."
Yeah.
He's wearing a broken watch. And when he's looking at Ellie walk away, he's realizing like, I feel like his paternal feelings are coming out. He looked at his watch as she's walking away. He just looks down, just a quick
That's
glance,
good observation.
as you see on the screen, and we see that those little breadcrumbs of that relationship starting to build up little by little.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
it definitely, him looking at his watch was not to know what time it is. I mean, because one, the watch is broken, and two, time is kind of irrelevant in this type of world right now. So he was trying to reconnect and maybe look towards the future with this new little girl that he's watching over, who's the package that he has to deliver, and then new situations arise. So I think you're definitely on the money on that.
Yeah, and we had in this particular episode a character that different from the game. I think she got more to do and made more of an impact,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Tess. Tess was the unlikely hero or the likely hero here, sacrificing herself at the end of the episode. Normally this scene plays out a little bit different in the video game. Different scenario, different mercenaries, things go down a completely different way. But to see her kind of believe on the hope that Ellie may be or may carry the cure for this disease or this infection that is a fungi. This is hope for a new life, for not just for her, but for people, for everybody else, because she's so committed that even after events in the show happen where she gets bit and infected, she's willing to sacrifice herself and push Joel, who's very reluctant to continue forward, to continue the mission, so maybe a vaccine can be generated in the future. How do you feel from episode 1 to this episode about the character of Tess?
Hey, Tess, for me, she was interesting because she was first with Joel, right? She was first on the side. This is about the batteries, and she's a package. The little girl's a package, and then over time, there's one situation, I guess, that she got bit, where she realized that if I'm going to die, I want to make my death meaningful. Let it be because I'm carrying the cure, or transporting the cure, which is the package in her mind, which changed, right? And I think that was a pivotal moment for not only for Joel but for her. It's like something bigger than just the most immediate goal that they had going into this when they were transported. They wanted to get the battery so that they could get it, get the truck so that they could get out or whatever. So she progressed, and obviously she died, but she didn't want to die in vain, which I thought that was big, because she could have just said, oh, well, and that would have been it.
No, certainly. One sidebar, just to keep it real here.
Mm-hmm.
I did feel that the first half, the episode kind of dragged. I don't know, maybe it's my expectation because I already know what's coming. I already knew this was bound to happen in this episode. But it felt like the episode dragged those first 35 minutes until the clickers were introduced. Do you feel the same way, or were you engaged from the beginning?
Dude, it definitely dragged. There's no question that it dragged. And the only thing that kept me watching is because I know that's a good show, and also I knew that they were doing character development, or at least they made it seem like they were. But this was a struggle, and we were waiting for something, and it got past the halfway point because we said 36 minutes in, and I was like, what's going to happen here? Because I still didn't see it. And finally, the clickers came in, and you had another situation come up. But yeah, it definitely dragged for sure.
Yeah, like it's we look at the contrast. Episode 1, the first 37 minutes, I think it was. Those first 35 minutes of episode 1 were interesting and intense, and gave us that emotional shock with with Sarah being shot.
Mm-hmm.
This first 35 minutes, I would say, we had an interesting part how the show starts, and this might be telling that every episode they might be giving us a little bit of the past, how the world was before the infection, 2003.
Yeah,
we saw that Indonesia scene where they locate this scientist who's scientist of mycology.
I like
which
that
is
scene.
the science of studying fungi and how they communicate and how they spread and how they function.
What's up, Cowboy? Go ahead.
Yeah, and what's going on? Friend of the show, Carlos, what's going on? Yeah, that's correct. They did build that up because of that change of how from spores to the tendrils.
Real quick, piggybacking off of what you were saying about the scientist who studies fungi, all her life. When the commander asked her, the general asked her, "What do we do?" and her response was, and we were watching this together, and it was funny because my response was to set everything on fire, and your response said that she was going to say that she's going to pray, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, or Lion, you're probably right, because no woman, like the woman is not going to say burn down an entire city or anything like that. That's not likely. But she did, because that was the weight of how big this could potentially be. Like this could be bigger than the pandemic that we experienced or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, this has to stop now. You have to bomb it. And then we see evidence of bombings throughout all the countries, including in right there in Boston, in this particular episode. Which brings me to another question: like, is this okay? Is this okay to see? Like, would we expect to see this if another pandemic hit that was really bad? Like, you know, like that was automatically killing people? Would this be okay? Would this be a viable way to go? What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, so you called it like burn everything, and then she was bomb everything. Let me just go home with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And this even paid off later on in the episode. As they are going around, we saw the crater.
Yes.
And that explains that, yeah, they tried to stop the spreading by bombing things. And yeah, I mean, that's when you're faced with something that's impossible to stop. I mean, you gotta make some sacrifice. That's the only way I think that they gotta really handle. And to pick about what Cowboy's saying, shout out to Cowboy. Now your mama knows. One of my favorite scenes of the episode was that the added scene at the beginning, same with episode 2. And that's right. And this may be telling how they're gonna run the show. We may be getting the first 5 minutes of the show every single episode, a view into the past of how things were, and that's very interesting. We never got that in the game. We always had these theories of how things were happening. If we look at those scenes and those breadcrumbs that are leaving every episode, like the stuff we talked about earlier, that the infection may have been spreading through yeast or through flour. That's why they had the pancakes reference, they had the cookies reference, the cake reference, and that's how people got being getting infected.
That's a good point.
You see what? The legends in the house as well. What's going on? And Legends giving it a 10 out of 10. Gotta
This
love
episode's
it.
10 out of 10 or the show's 10 out of 10?
It's giving the show a 10 out of 10. The
Show,
episode,
definitely.
yeah.
The episode, yeah, I don't know.
We will give our full
Rating
a
soon.
full rating later
Yeah.
on in the episode. Cabo, I sent you the link. If you want to join out, you're always welcome to join out. You know, you're an official member of the crew anytime. So yeah, like the episode it felt like it dragged at the beginning. The first 5 minutes was interesting. In the middle was a little slow. They did spend quite a bit of time explaining how the network of the fungi works. And then when we finally get to see that clicker, what a moment. Because that sound, for anyone who's experienced this game, especially back in 2013, you hear that click, click, those weird movements, that mushroom face.
Face only
when I say mushroom face, I may be misconstrued. That fungi face.
Yeah, face only a mother could love. That's for sure.
Yo, and then you see Joel explain to Ellie really quickly, hey, this they cannot see, but they can hear.
Yep.
And they have incredibly sharp hearing because he steps in a piece of glass. Yeah. And they were ready to go.
Even the bullets that he was loaded, they heard him.
Yeah, I mean, I like. So funny thing, right? So he's shooting.
Yeah.
And he's shooting, and as he's shooting, I'm like, man, shoot the head. You gotta shoot the head, or just grab a shift. And anyone who's played the game knows you gotta grab a shift, go in the back, hit in the head. That's how you take care of it. You gotta be very quiet. You gotta be sneaky. And he's shooting like the body of it. And like, Joe, you're being outside the quarantine, so you should know better. You gotta shoot the head like multiple times. And,
exactly.
And I was like, I just want to grab the control at that particular moment. Just go ahead and take care of business.
And me, on the other hand, I was like, why didn't one shot take it? And like, what's going on here? Why didn't one shot kill him?
Shout out to Kawak. I was like, I just seen the invite, but my wife would kill me if I joined. She had to deal with my 31 straight days of streaming Stadia. That's true. Shout out to Cowboy.
Yeah.
Commitment. So just to give a little background on that, because this is very commendable of him. Stadia was Google's cloud gaming service. That's where Cowboy was very attached to, very heavily involved in. Stadia was shut down a couple days ago.
Oh wow!
So Cowboy did 31 days of streaming every day on Stadia and talking about the memories and the different things he's being able to be part. That's one reason we actually found Cowboy and started engaging with him is due to Stadia. And the man went down with the ship like a good captain.
Salute to you.
So salute to you, Cowboy. And anyone, if you don't know, if you guys are into gaming, all different types of topics and reviews, check out And Now Your Mama Knows channel. Has an excellent channel. Check out the
Great
Legend
show.
as well. The Legend 350 has a
Yep.
great podcast on Fridays. He does a lot of really great gaming videos. So check them out. Those guys are great. They make really great content. And as you come in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Show some
Hit
love.
that like
Share
button.
the stream. Share the video for sure. Um, so we finally see the clicker. They are stuck in this museum, and we see that they get separated. We
Yeah.
have Joel and Ellie stay together, and we have Tess ends up going on her own.
Absolutely.
And this is never good.
Nope.
Because
You
she
knew it was
goes
gonna
off
happen.
camera, and we don't know what happens to her until later on. And at that moment, I found it very interesting that we have when Joel gets jumped by the clicker. And let me put a quick image here of a clicker, by the way. He and Ellie are next to each other in the floor, and Joel's fighting for his life. And I have to think that part of him is like, I gotta save this little girl. Like those flashbacks of his daughter, of not being able to protect her and save her at that time, had to go through his head. What did you thought of that whole scene in the museum when they separated and how everything went down? What was your
I knew it was coming. I knew that Tess was going to get bit, and I didn't know how Joel and Ellie were going to make it out, but I had a feeling that they were going to make it out. It was intense, and just to see how tenacious those clickers were, and also get a note on how, like you were saying, how acute and how to sound they were, how they could hear everything. I was like, how could anyone ever move around them? Like you would just have to stand in one spot until they're gone. Or the other thing I was going to say is, why didn't they throw something? But that's a side note. But
that's what Rune just said. Why didn't you throw a bottle? Yeah, if you know they work on sound, throw
that.
something.
Yeah.
And haven't go a different way. I just wanted to be like, come on, Joe, you know we could play this. He's being out there. He already said he's being outside the quarantine zone multiple times. He should know how this works.
Yep.
Make sound somewhere else, they go the other way, and then you just get out of there and survive.
That would have been the first thing that I did, see how it goes. So we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, the clickers do look amazing. They very faithful to how they are in the game, and that sound, that movement, so haunting. Like you just hear it, and very different than your traditional zombie shows and zombie movies. That just want brains, you want brains, and these things they can't see, but they can hear you very, very well.
Those things are hunters.
And not just that, to make things even worse, this is where the big switch from game to show happens. Is that we see what these tendrils can really do. Since fungi are known to be able to communicate through long distances, are using this in the show. We see how when the the deceased clicker is in the floor.
Yeah.
The fungi starts kind of wrapping around their hands, and all of a sudden, all those other clickers that were miles away are running as a horde to the museum to destroy them. And plot armor saves them because luckily they had gas, they had grenades, they had plenty of weapons.
How
to shoot.
Inconvenient.
And Tess, has that right idea. Everybody finds out that our girl Tess is infected. She shows the mark, but she believes that Ellie is the savior, is the future of this world. Mm-hmm. She goes ahead and lights herself on fire, but not before we see one of the most disgusting scenes I see on TV, which is when that clicker, the tendrils go in her mouth as they're kissing, and she finally lights up that match. What do you think of that whole scene? How
that was the kiss of death, or the new French kiss, and she got more than tongue. That scene was disgusting, and to see it happen, I was hoping that she would actually be able to set things on fire, and thankfully she did. But that whole scene I thought was great. Here's a question: which scene is better, the scene from the game or the scene from the show? I'm talking about where Tess gives her life in both scenes, but she gives her life fighting the cops, or she gives her life fighting the clickers. Which one do you think was more dramatic?
I'm gonna give you a very very diplomatic answer. This is it. So I think for the show, this type of scene works better because it's doing two things. It's explaining how dangerous these things are. Because it's not just that it's a single clicker that's there. You can eliminate the clicker, and if there are any around, this fungi can go ahead and communicate and send more your way.
Absolutely.
Which is going to add added element of danger. Um, in the game, what normally happens is you have Tess stays there to protect, to slow down some mercenaries. Some humans are trying to kill you, and you end up going to a different floor and eliminating it, and that works really well for gameplay.
Yeah.
But you could not fight a horde in there in the game, so.
No.
So I think for the game, that scene works really well. But for the show, this was a very good choice. It helps explain the how dangerous these things are, and it creates that tension, especially for those who are unaware of what's going to happen. If you were going in blind, you don't know if Tess is going to survive or what's going to happen, and seeing that is definitely going to bring up the element. I would like to know if any of you guys are watching right now, you have not played the game, you were not aware what's going to happen here. How did you feel on that scene about what was going down in regards to how the clickers were coming in as a horde and what sacrifice that Tess had to make?
Dude, I'll give you that part. Finding out how they communicate through the tentacles and how quickly the clickers got there. Because again, I haven't played the game, only watched the highlights or whatever. See how quickly they got there. Holy crap, that was exciting. That part was unexpected and thrilling, and that's something completely different than what I've ever seen on Walking Dead, because we know the zombies don't walk that quickly. And these guys were running and they were getting at it, busting down doors and everything. This is not your Walking Dead. This is a different genre, completely different scenario situation going on, and I absolutely love it because it's a different, I think, more realistic perspective, which asks a few questions like, if you were in this world, would it be better to live in a rural area or would it be better to live in a city?
I think if you're in a very rural area, I think you will end up I think you'll be safer. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be less people around.
Mm-hmm.
You have more land. Like if you think about somebody owning a farm, you can see these things coming from a mile away. It's probably going to be a much smaller quantity. I think you get better chance in the city. There's buildings everywhere. There's businesses. They're going to come from left and right. Anyway.
You got limited resources, and you also have animals that can kill you. So, and the weather too. I mean, Boston, it gets cold during the winter.
Cowboy, if you play Days Gone, I think you will get something like Days Gone if they would have done something like in the game. But I think this works really well because you needed that explanation. At least us that are familiar with the story, we needed that explanation on how dangerous it's gonna be. Because the danger of the spores, you can walk into a room, the spores are there. If you don't have the gas mask, you're done. Yeah. In the show, I mean, the spores can go everywhere. Everybody would have been infected right away. It would be just devastating, right? So showing how dangerous this thing really is, because if you listen to it, it's fungus. Really? You're gonna be scared of fungus?
People eat fungus.
That zombies that can communicate with each other and in the drop of a dime just bring hundreds, if not thousands of them at one place. It's frightening. It can be very frightening for sure.
Very problematic. Yes, absolutely.
Overall, I think I was satisfied with this episode. I wasn't as excited. I'm not as excited at the end of this episode as I was with at the end of episode 1, because that was going to be hype. But they did throw a name there of a character that I think is gonna be amazing to see on screen, and that's Bill. Before Tess of herself, she ended up saying, "Hey, let's continue the mission. How about you take Ellie to Bill's place?" And old man Bill is played by Nick Offerman. You guys are fans of Parks and Rec.
Who is it? If you're not, I don't know what to say.
Nick Offerman is amazing, and I'm excited to see how this character is gonna play out, especially being played by that particular actor.
It's gonna be great.
Are you guys excited about seeing Nick Offerman play Bill in the next episode? Because that's gonna be interesting. That's one of the best parts in the game too.
Dude, I'm really looking forward to Nick Offerman because he's hilarious in any role that he plays, and he does a great job. So I'm very excited to see. I don't actually know what his character is supposed to be like.
This is something you're gonna enjoy because he's a very particular character. He has his quirks as a person, so I think people are gonna enjoy it and they had who better than Nick Offerman to really bring that to life. I think it's gonna be excellent. Overall, and we're gonna probably rate the episode here in a little bit. This was a shorter, definitely a shorter episode. We went from 120 minutes to 55 minutes. I think
so was there any value for like the first? Did we get anything out of like the first 35 minutes of the show?
I would say the first 5 minutes where we saw that flashback 2003. That was interesting. Same thing when they did in the first episode. We got really hooked on that, and then.
But after that, was there any value?
It was more building the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and kind of like preparing us for sending off Tess. This is Tess going in flames, and then when we finally saw the clicker, having her have that hero's dead. At the end of it, I'm gonna ask you. We're gonna discuss a couple more things that I wanna say. What do you rate this particular episode of the show?
Oh man, you really want to know what I rate this show?
Oh,
this episode, not the show. This episode.
Some filter. That's what the intro says.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know why they do filters. I rate this episode 6.5, and here's why.
That bad?
Yes. No, seriously.
There's no. It's okay. I mean, I know it was a slow build up. I mean, it wasn't. I know it dragged a little. We talked about it, but
so
here's
the thing, because this is a great game, and it has a great premise and everything like that. But they had a slow build, which is why they had to add more time. Last episode, I would expect things to pick up, which they kind of did towards the very end of this episode. And you got a lot of filler after that first 5 minutes. You could have sped up the whole relationship thing and everything like that between the three of them. And like you could have did that in 10 to 15 minutes. There's not commercials here. So you could have did that in 10 to 15 minutes and added some more and advanced them a little bit further. I thought that they were slow rolling us. I'm not going to lie. There was a part where I almost fell asleep at, but I knew something big was coming and I like the ending part. But that's just me. What are your thoughts?
I agree with Room, so you got no chill. It automatically goes for the 6.5. Like, come on, this is the last of us. Come on, man.
My bad, yo. Sorry, step on Phil.
So this is the criteria I look at. I'm looking at the intro hooked me from the get-go. As soon as I saw something that I was not expecting, because I expected. I mean, it was cool in the first episode, but to see it on the second episode, those first 5 minutes, getting some more information. Because it was something that was never part of the game, so to us, it's
that part was good.
It was a hook, so that was great.
Yeah.
Then we had some funny moments and some endearing moments. We saw the range of Bella Ramsey kind of bringing the more playful side of Ellie to life, and that scene where Joel looks back at his watch kind of gives us that little breadcrumb, like, okay, this is the relationship forming right here in this particular episode. And then Tess was this tough lady. She's like the one moving the story forward, because if it was left to Joel would have quit, and having her have those 30 minutes to do her thing, to kind of show that she's in charge, she's a leader, and kind of wink letting us know that this was a send-off. It needed to be done, plus the explanation of how in the past they were dealing with the infection with the bombs. The explanation how you can tell if the clickers are dead inside of a building by looking how dry the roots may be. Those things you have to lay that foundation, because we're gonna get more episodes. So it was necessary. It drags. Sometimes it's a lot of information. You want more, something a little more intense at times, but then it pays off when we see the
10.
When you see a
10,
the clickers.
What's going to be some of the better episodes? I don't know about a 10, Room.
He gave it a 10. Room's giving it a 10. I know.
Oh man.
I know the legend gave it a 10. I'm gonna give the episode an 8.
I'm sticking with my 6.5.
I don't know, man. You're giving it like.
I mean,
you did give Halo like a 9 one of the days.
No.
We'll go back and look. We did 3 Halo episodes. You gotta give me a 9. I don't know.
Yeah, look at some of the episodes, but I'm almost certain that I didn't do that.
It was the one when Master Chief was in the chat with Chief. I'm just joking. It's all about the cheeks.
Don't believe everything you hear on YouTube.
It's the rumor. It's the rumor. Nah, I'm giving the episode an 8. We saw the preview for next week where we're gonna have Old Man Bill play a role, and they're gonna show his partner in the show, which we didn't get to see that in the game. And this guy is fairly resourceful. It's gonna be very, very interesting. I was joking. I don't think he gave it an. I think he did give one of the episodes. He gave like an 8.
I think I did give it an 8 for that. But I was being very lenient. But this one, I have high expectations, and honestly, this particular episode, the meat was at the end. Like the meat and the sandwich was towards the end of the episode. And maybe it's because I don't know. Like my wife says, I watch too many shows or whatever. So this part, the fluffer was predictable. Even if I didn't watch it, it was very predictable. Very
fluffers are always predictable, from what I hear.
Exactly, and sometimes more entertaining. But that feeling
you
part,
got it. You got it. Just hit.
Oh yeah, I was already on it.
You sure that's coffee?
Yeah. This time it is. No. But no, like the next 30 minutes was, I think they could have accelerated that whole part, and I think it was feeling they could have showed the relationship and how it was growing, blah blah blah, and some of the other stuff a lot quicker. And some of it didn't go over for me. It was more of the end, seeing the clickers, seeing them run, seeing how the tentacles communicate and how they have to be dried out. That was all at the end, like.
Yeah, I mean that second half. Second quarter of the show was definitely packed. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer just because we were in a very good groove.
That goes to my point. That's another reason why I give him a 6, because it was like if you were to do an arch, it would be flat, and then it went like this, and then the episode ended.
Cowboy says, I know your mama knows.
Thanks.
I give it an 8 also. I get 8 because I get an 8 because of the beginning, adding that info and Tess dying plus Ellie explaining her bite. That's very important because it was very cool to see that.
That's a good point.
Ellie gets a little bit of a small bite, and then we see how Tess bite within minutes. Mm-hmm. It's like all these things that are just coming on her.
Again, that was
Ellie has
end,
just a little cut.
Yeah, but Ellie's part was at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. 6.5.
6.5 still. This guy.
6.5.
This guy.
They got better episodes coming.
No, I mean, I'm still excited. I mean, I'm very happy with the success of the show. I'm a little biased just because of my connection with it.
You guys are definitely fanning out, but it's all good though.
No, I'm excited, and seeing everyone that's never experienced the story really getting into it is special.
I like.
Kudos to Neil Druckmann. I mean, this is gonna be. We had 2 episodes, and so far, this episode we scored the lowest. I give the last episode a 9, I believe, which I could probably give it a higher. But one curious fact is that the first episode was 120 minutes long, and the main reason it was because it's actually 2 episodes into one. Neil was doing an interview, and he was talking about how they were gonna only do the 55 minutes for the first episode, but it would have ended right after, a little bit after the passing of Sarah. So they didn't feel right. So I think they had to redo it multiple times. And that's when they decided, instead of doing a 10-episode season, to do only 9 episodes and just make that first episode 120 minutes.
So they did.
So they can give us more time. We're still getting 10 episodes, but they just gave us one very long episode, and every episode is gonna be 55 minutes. I'm hoping the 9th episode is also a little longer because there's so much story to tell, and as the weeks go by, this story is gonna become more intense. Yeah. And it's gonna leave people wanting more. 100%. I'm highly confident of that.
Yeah. Cowboy, can't wait for you to come down, man. You should come down. I think you'll like the setup. We're not going to say what the setup is, but I think you'll like the setup. It's pretty decent.
I'm glad you like the studio apartment. I'm kidding. Apartment. No, so funny story. So when we started doing shows together. Back in last year, last year in
like 200
with
episodes
Foundation.
Ago. Yeah,
Foundation was our first show that we did, and we was in the same room, but it would look very different. If you go back to the episodes, we used to record the episode, not live. And we had like like a brick backdrop. I think
Oh,
it
it's
was.
terrible.
We had like a flat table.
We had a
We have a different camera.
A6000 that looked like it was from the 1980s, like the resolution and
Yeah.
everything like that. And we honestly, the whole setup, because the camera was like right here on us, so it looked like we were hostages from, and we were showing a proof of life video.
Yeah. The video quality wasn't the best, and I know it's but it's fun to be in the studio at the same time. When I was living farther away, it was harder to come to the studio and do the shows at the same time. But now I'm a little closer, so it's easier to come through. Sometimes we're gonna want to do some different type of shows too. We have some ideas that may pan out. If Carlos, if you're watching, talking about you, so we're gonna be doing something with you as well. So we might.
What up, Carlos? It's been a minute.
Yeah, so we might do some stuff there. See what he says here. Says I felt part 2 gave much in meaning to many characters. It was too much going on, but it worked great as a show. Yep, you're right. You're talking about part 2 of the episode or part 2 of the game? is that what you're referring to?
It's probably part 2 of the episode because we haven't even reached the. Yeah.
The next episode is gonna be out of this world. Like it's not out of this world, but it's gonna be pretty interesting because the way things are gonna break down it's gonna be funny in a way. Yeah, I mean part 2 of the game. Not to give any spoilers away, because you have that first episode, or if they do a season 2, it's gonna rock everybody's world. But part 2
of the game, there it
is. It was a switch, and man, it's kind of hard to put into words because there was a lot of spoilers out and there was a lot of misinformation out. So I went in with mixed feelings about the game, but overall, it's a conflicting story. It's a conflicting way to feel, but I felt connected, and I was able to see both sides of a story told in different ways, just to be as big as I can be without going any specific with the show.
For what I heard, I think I'm gonna like part 2. But we'll see how it goes.
He's talking to Now Your Mama Knows. I think we're pretty soon we're gonna get more on the backstory of Ellie, because there's some of the trailers in the next weeks to come is a look into the moment before Ellie met Marlene. So that's gonna be happening fairly soon. If I'm thinking that's gonna be like an episode 4 kind of thing.
Okay.
Episode 4 to 5. So that's gonna bring us to. Actually, no, that might be episode 6 or 7 because there's some stuff that goes down, just like it happens in the game.
Bring the heat.
Other than that, so Cordell.
Yeah.
He enjoyed the show. He said he figured out what we were talking about. In regards to the beginning, Cordell's one of our friends that was interested in checking out the show, and just to see that he's really enjoyed it. He's a tough cookie to crack, and if he's able to enjoy the show, I mean, we're gonna see more people,
because he's not the type to watch TV shows and all that stuff.
Especially about zombies. That's not his cup of tea.
That's not his thing. So he's into
ESPN
it.
Sports Center. He's never gonna see this, so he's not having that.
I wonder how he feels about episode 2. I wonder if he'll rate episode 2 a 6.5 like I did. Yeah, I said it. 6.5.
Should ask him. It should be hilarious. He's never gonna see this. He's never gonna watch this for that. If it's not on Sports Center, he's not gonna watch it.
Oh my gosh, that guy.
Now, we're thinking of doing a couple other different shows. One of those is gonna be more topic based. If you guys have suggestions on topics in regards to maybe streaming shows that you guys are impactful, let us know. We'll do some stuff. We'd like to do a panel, have more people over as well. There's a couple of movies maybe reviewing. So
there's a ton.
There's tons of stuff. So we definitely have to be more consistent with the content to make sure we don't take 2-3 months off as we always do. Final thoughts on the episode.
Beyond what I said.
Beyond what you said.
Let's see here. I like this show. I think the show has a lot of potential. This particular episode, like I said, I'm not going to say it again. It was good. The reason why I'm so harsh is because I think the ceiling is very high for them, and they're going to get there. Like, they got a lot going for them. I just want to see bring it. But the character development is amazing. Seeing the clickers and how they communicate, unreal. And seeing the relationship between Ellie and Joel form, I think is special, because I know where it's going to go. But seeing that process, I think is special. So this particular episode, keep doing your job. Kudos on the first directing. By the first director,
Neil Druckmann,
Neil Druckmann.
Yeah, amazing job. Yeah, I gotta give it to him. Like, some people are very talented. This guy helped write the story. He co-produced the first game, co-directed the first game, co-directed the second game, wrote that story as well, and he's now working as a director in the show as well. And although you may have rated the episode a 6.5, I gave it an 8, and others have agreed with the 8. So we're gonna go with an 8. He did pretty good.
Make it right.
He's very talented. This guy's a visionary. He's an artist, and I cannot wait to see what else he comes out of it. So there's another game that's supposed to be launched maybe this year, maybe next, which will help continue the show, hopefully. So that's gonna be interesting. Talking about interesting, it's a really cool conversation happening in the chat. It's full of spoilers. So if you guys have not watched the games, do not look at that conversation. But I will say this: do you guys think Abby will be shown in this before the season ends?
I'm counting on it.
That would be interesting. Abby's shown, like a young Abby, maybe to set up some kind of breadcrumbs for the future. Let me know in the comments.
Is Abby the?
Yeah,
Abby's okay.
I don't know. I haven't heard of any casting of that character, but that was very cool. They would show a young Abby into this season just to leave us wanting more.
That'll be interesting. Probably episode 9.
Let's see here. That would be so amazing for Shannon if they show Abby before season ends. I think that would be I think they have to do it. They have to give us like a small scene just to make this even more conflicting and not to give out too much stuff. Abby would be really great to be shown in this season. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling having her.
Yeah,
and when season 2 goes on, you're like, oh, that's Abby. Yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah,
and it will give out. But it could also work as a surprise if you don't know who she is. So,
but you know what? They're not.
Yeah, I don't think they can. They need a surprise.
And I'll tell you, it's very. I think it's very easy why they're not. But yeah, I'm betting that they won't. But we'll see. We'll see.
And we will be seeing you guys next week.
That's right.
I'll probably put out another video about this episode, like a quick show review, more concise about the episode in the week. Check me out on This Is Lion809 on Twitter. Mr. E is definitely not on Twitter. He's not a Twitter guy.
Too many socials.
Too many socials. So, we'll be here next week. Take us on.
Hey, listen, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching. We will catch you on the next show. Until then, I'm Mr. E. This is Lion, and we are
certainly unstructured for sure, especially this episode. This episode, we gotta get back in that groove. See you guys in the next one.
Take it easy, everyone.